What's up, A to Z Sports Live on this Thursday, and we got a lot to talk about because Big Jeff talked about the contract for the first time, since he decided to not talk about the contract situation back over the summer and over the offseason. So we are here today reacting to Jeffery Simmons' comments that he made to The Athletic about his future. He also tweeted in response to everything that happened based off of the article from The Athletic from Dan Pompei. So we've got a lot of things to react to, and Jeffery Simmons' locker room answer, his tweet, the comments themselves. Did he throw the Titans under the bus? I think he did. So we'll talk through all of it and figure out if you guys think this Jeffery Simmons Titans contract conflict is a big deal, small deal, or a no deal as they approach the guy's last year under contract. He's having a big year, 5.5 sacks already through 7 games, and Jeffery Simmons has a 5th-year option next season. And then we'll move on to Ryan Tannehill, who updated his ankle injury status for Titans versus Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. So that's very important as well. And then we'll get to the Magic Bucket on this Thursday. So welcome in everybody to this Thursday show. Zach, how's everything going this morning?
It's rocking and rolling on a Thursday. We got the Magic Bucket set. We'll find out what we need to do there, and we'll get this thing started here very, very shortly. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Those are 3 different platforms that we have you covered. We will tweet out segment by segment the on Twitter our YouTube link, and it's very, very simple. Just click the YouTube link each segment that we roll in and subscribe to our YouTube page. That would help us out a great deal and help you out if you're a Titans fan. It's that simple. And so go ahead and subscribe. Search A to Z Sports Nashville. If you are not already doing that, subscribe to our channel as we climb to 10,000 subscribers on our YouTube. And Facebook, the real OGs. What's going on Facebook? Bottom left corner of your screen. Share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing on this show. Share the show around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed. How that happens is you guys distribute and share the show. More people are going to be piling in as you guys do. You can chat amongst yourself in the chat, and we will get this thing rocking and rolling on a Titans Thursday with a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we absolutely do. So let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media, as we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Find links to the show on our Twitter timeline, our Instagram, and also follow us on TikTok. But we got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out you guys, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your next car buying process by going to see them in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans, better coverage, rates, and service. Learn more about a health plan for you, fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, the official injury lawyers of the Titans. If you've been injured in a car wreck, call them for a free case consultation, 800-800-4600. So, Zach, Jeffery Simmons has consistently talked a lot this offseason about he's not worried about the contract. Take us through the Titans contract situation with Jeffery Simmons as he's in year 4 of that rookie deal.
Yeah, well, Jeffery Simmons is a first-round draft pick, right? And so we talk about Malik Willis and what he did this past week. And the future of him, well, he's a little different because he's a 3rd-round pick. So there's good and bad, right? There's give and take with the first-round pick. So if you are a team, you get the benefit of a 5th-year option, and sometimes that could benefit the player, sometimes that could benefit the team. And the timing of that is key because you have to decide a year prior of whether you're going to pick up your 5th-year option for said player. We've seen a ton of different situations throughout the course of, let's just say, John Robinson's tenure, and this has been happening for some time, of deciding to pick up some 5th-year options and not deciding to pick up 5th-year options. Jeffery Simmons is a premier player in this league. He is a top 5, if not top 2, defensive tackle, which your front 4 is becoming even more. And Aaron Donald revolutionized the position, right? Because defensive tackle is not your traditional pass rushers from the outside are not the only guys that can disrupt an offense or get sacks. And so for this has been going on all season, all off season. Austin, you thought a deal was going to get done in July. I heard that all summer. You thought July. July came and went and nothing got done. And then the season started. Now, the one thing is Jeffery Simmons notoriously a team player, and he decided to play. He didn't have any holdouts. He didn't even make any waves. He had a little period of time where he sat out in minicamp, but that was very kosher, as they say, between the two sides. But here, all of the sudden, right before prime time, Sunday Night Football, Titans, Kansas City Chiefs, you get a report of Jeffery Simmons, and I don't know when the exact time and date this happened, but he starts talking about some of the contract discussions this past offseason between the Titans and Jeffery Simmons. And here's the last thing I'll say.
Yeah.
And this is a huge caveat to this whole thing. The Titans do have the opportunity, because the fifth-year option picked, I mean, he's going to play a fifth year. They can still hold his feet to the fire because of franchise tags and all this different, ins and outs and logistic. Sometimes, finding the right solution is not always easy for both sides. We think about the Kirk Cousins situation in Washington, right? You got franchise tag after franchise tag, and then he went to Minnesota and all that stuff. You don't want it to get ugly, but I don't know if this was a direct chess move or Jeffery Simmons was even knowing that he was playing chess. But all of a sudden, something was disclosed this week about the contract that has really shaken things up prior to this primetime game.
Yeah, so Dan Pompei of The Athletic went through and did a really good read about Jeffery Simmons, about everything that goes on in his career, his background, what he's doing, and how well he's playing. And it was a long, it's The Athletic. It's a long form article. And so if you get through it for several minutes, then you find this excerpt that makes you go, oh, interesting. And that's this right here. This is Simmons says the Titans discussed his future with him in the offseason. Quote from Simmons. It was, "We want you to be here, but we don't know exactly when we'll be able to pay you," he says. The Titans were like, "We don't know if we're going to be able to offer you what you think you're worth. We want to pay you, but we don't know where it's going to come from." That's basically what it was like, not an offer. And then the quotes from Simmons continue. Says, quote, "What I'm making this year, some guys who just got in here are making. When you're talking about D-line, you have to think about the number one guy in the league, Aaron Donald. I'm making $2 million. He's making $30 million. I asked myself, do I want to go risk that?" So that's the Jeffery Simmons comments there in The Athletic. And then Simmons did respond on Twitter to this as well. But Zach, we'll get to Simmons' tweet here in a second. That's a very different type of tone that Simmons used in those quotes, and a very different message that he used in those quotes from The Athletic, where everything he said this offseason was, it's not about the contract. I'm not worried about a contract. I have a team who's going to worry about the contract. I'm worried about winning and not about the contract.
How did Pompei get this exclusive?
I don't know. Like, did Jeffery Simmons know who he was talking to? Did
he take him to lunch or dinner? Or did he go to the Palm? Did he go to a nice restaurant? How did this happen? Because we know, and you said it, Jeffery Simmons has not said a damn thing about this.
Nothing.
From what we have known is he's played this thing very close to the vest and just said, hey, I'm not going to speak about it. He did his business. He knew what he was going to play, the contract he was going to play under this year. He didn't hold out. He didn't sit out of practice. He wasn't a diva. And then all of a sudden, these things come out. And look, he said, these are quotes, right? This is wild. I think it was eye-opening to a lot of people of what was the change of tune. And then I think the big thing is when did this occur? Did he get comfortable? That's what I'm thinking. How did Pompei get Jeffery Simmons this comfortable to open up this much about the contract?
Yeah.
But what his words are revealing.
Yes, absolutely. So here is Big Jeff, who was approached in the Titans locker room yesterday, the video via Paul Kaharski, and asked about the comments that he gave to Dan Pompei in The Athletic.
Yeah.
Is it discouraging to you that they said we may not be able to pay you what you're worth? We don't know if where the money's going to come from.
Yep, Patrick Mahomes. I'm hopeful I can get to him in this weekend. My focus is that. I'm not worried about a contract right now. I mean, I'm focused on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
So, Jeff, what do you think about your comments that you said about the contract that you're not worried about? Well, Patrick Mahomes, man, he's you really got to push the pocket and get after. I mean, look, it was a funny way for Big Jeff to answer that in the locker room by basically disregard it and talk about Patrick Mahomes. But then Big Jeff did tweet this out after locker room availability. So what happened? Timeline. You have the comments from The Athletic that came out. Then you have Big Jeff being asked about it in the locker room. Then you had this tweet. Listen, I love where I'm at. I love this organization and most of all my teammates. I am not worried about a contract. I am focused on winning. Next story, please. Zach, there's no way to tiptoe around this. Jeffery Simmons comments to The Athletic threw the Titans' entire organization under the bus. Because the comments that I want to focus on are the last couple of sentences. We want to pay you, but we don't know where it's going to come from. That's basically what it was. Not an offer. So the not an offer thing, I'm not worried about the Titans not offering Big Jeff a contract extension last summer. Because like you said, the Titans had 2 years of control under his rookie contract plus a potential franchise tag. But the part of we don't know where the money's going to come from to pay you, and we don't think we can pay you what you think you deserve or are worth on the open market. That type of verbiage that Jeffery Simmons is saying about the Titans throws the entire franchise under the bus. Whether he meant to do that, whether he loves the franchise and the opportunity they gave him by drafting him in the first round with a torn ACL and the situation that happened before he got to Mississippi State, whatever that was, he threw the organization under the bus by airing that laundry.
And here's even more. I don't know the timeline of this, but most likely this was after A.J. Brown had been traded.
So, absolutely.
So, yeah. We do not know the timestamp of exactly when Jeff said this, when the Titans told him, right? Like that was not disclosed in the article. But one can assume A.J. Brown was traded the draft. That was April. I was there in Vegas. And then the season started. Look, you blink twice, it's November 3rd. They had freed up the money. They didn't pay A.J. Brown $100 million, in which I cannot wait to talk more about why they didn't. And I would love to. But this topic tells me they didn't pay a premier wide receiver. And now they've got a premier defensive tackle, and they're sitting there telling him, we'd love to pay you. We just don't know how. This is a fundamental problem with this organization. And if they don't pay Jeffery Simmons and they let him walk out that door or end up playing hardball and franchise tagging him and going that route and disrupting the relationship, that is an indictment on what this franchise represents when it comes to premier players. Because, guys, we woke up this morning and the Miami Dolphins, who are at the bottom of the effing league, tanked for Tua a couple years ago, have made stellar moves with draft trades, with free agent acquisitions, with drafting, with now trades at the trade deadline to get a premier pass rusher in Bradley Chubb, immediately pay him. You cannot play small cash in big boy football anymore. And Titans fans should look at these quotes and be very concerned, because these are not only words, they're also actions. It's not just, look, actions speak louder than words. We've seen actions, and now in another situation, we see the same type of jargon. Seattle Seahawks didn't do this to DK Metcalf. San Francisco 49ers didn't do this to Deebo Samuel. Terry McLaurin is still on the Commanders. All were paid, all still on the same team. This is a problem. And Jeffery Simmons, I'm glad, look, I don't know when the timing was, but I'm glad he exposed the franchise of what they said. This is ridiculous.
And again, like there's always both sides, right? This is what Jeffery Simmons says what happened in the offseason. And at some point, I'm sure we'll hear the Titans.
Why would he wouldn't lie about this, right? Like the words that were said, there's no reason to lie about the Titans saying they don't know how they're going to pay, right?
Sure.
There is no reason to lie. That's not even a negotiation strategy, especially when the timing is. That's why I think it goes towards believing Jeffery Simmons saying what the Titans actually said.
All right, so let's go ahead and ask this question. Jeffery Simmons Titans contract conflict. Is it a big deal, small deal, or a no deal? Now, we're focusing on the words that Jeffery Simmons told The Athletic, which is, we want to pay you, but we don't know where it's going to come from. That's basically what it was, not an offer. So, big deal, small deal, or no deal that the Jeffery Simmons has a contract conflict with the Titans right there in those words from the Athletics via Dan Pompei. But first, Zach, tell everybody about Wilson County Hyundai.
Yeah, Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to go get your next ride. Bottom of your screen, you can see the Palisade. It is the full-size SUV, third row seating, all the bells and whistles. Man, they got you covered. And it is sleek. It has sport mode. It's got summer mode. You can put your sunglasses on. You can put your winter coats in the back because it's got plenty of room. It doesn't matter what season it is. You are dominating the streets with the brand new Palisade. They've got them on the lot. Visit wilsoncountyhyundai.com to look at inventory, or you can drive quick trip down I-40 exit 236. Test drive one of these bad boys today. Full-size SUV, as I say, it's not your mama's minivan. It is brand new, and you're going to look sleek in the carpool line right there in your brand new Palisade. Visit wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
Also, download the BetMGM app, and when you do it, use our code ATOZ Sports because that gets you a risk-free bet on pro football up to $1,000. It's something you should absolutely take advantage of to start your betting career. If you're using another app and don't like it, you'll like the BetMGM app. I love the BetMGM app. I open it probably every day and have a lot of fun doing that with college football and pro football on the weekends. So download the app, use our code ATOZ Sports, and you get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 on pro football with that first bet. So, Zach, we're asking the question here. Big deal, small deal, or no deal? Jeffery Simmons Titans contract conflict after Simmons tells the Athletics' Dan Pompei, we don't know if we're going to be able to offer you what you think you're worth. We want to pay you, but we don't know where it's going to come from. It was a non-offer. That's Jeffery Simmons discussing his off-season contract conversations with the Tennessee Titans on the Athletics. So, Zach, I'll send you the chat. Big deal, small deal, or no deal? What are the people saying?
So Eric starts off with no deal as of now. So Eric's going completely opposite because we got a string of big deals. Steven says big deal. A.J. Brown is proof. Nick says big deal. Travis says huge deal. Jonathan says huge deal. Colby says big deal. Big ass deal from Jacqueline coming in right there. We've got small deal for the moment from Jarrell. Donald says big deal, especially after the AJ saga. Big deal from Guy. Major deal from Tones. Schmedium for Steven. So all you Schmedium kings out there, right there. So that's not a big deal. It's not a small deal. It's a mid deal. Small deal from Jay Bryant because there's plenty of time to figure it out. D says big deal. Chad says small deal. Sin says no deal. So there's a string of all three different ones. Big deal is an understatement from Demetrius. It's a big deal. Wouldn't be a big deal if they had paid A.J. Brown, and they would have been in a different situation, though, if they would have paid A.J. Brown. Austin, I think it would have made a lot more sense to say we don't know where it's coming from. That's where I say I don't know where the timeline is.
Right.
If, in fact, Jeffery Simmons is referring to a conversation that happened last March, maybe I think differently. But March to November and then these coming out now, that doesn't make a lot of sense. It seems like this was said after the A.J. Brown trade. Tighten Up says big deal, the biggest deal from Burning Devil. Small deal from Cody, big deal from Tommy, small deal from Sean, small deal from Albert. So setting into some small deals, including AB and TX, got some big deals. I think overall, though, the chat does think it is a big deal, There's a lot of comments.
I haven't
which we
seen a no
appreciate.
deal yet. Have you seen a no deal?
We started with a no deal.
Okay,
There's only
that's right.
one no deal from Eric, but
yeah, and I tried to scroll through the other comments that you didn't have a chance to get to.
there you go. Denise says no deal, too early to tell.
So, and we also, again, this is what Jeffery Simmons said after the fact. I love where I'm at. I love this organization most of all my teammates. I'm not worried about a contract. I'm focused on winning. Next story, please. Well, again, but
we know that. But
but Dan Pompei quoted him by saying that the Titans told him they don't know where the money's going to come from, and they don't think they can pay him what he thinks he's worth. So it's interesting, and that's there's negotiation art that goes into all of this. So, Zach, I'm going to say this is a small deal for me. Now, I think the A.J. Brown impact carryover, the hangover, the stank from the A.J. Brown mishandling, I think makes people paranoid about it. But yeah. I want to ask you, before A.J. Brown's situation, how many times did the Titans allow a player out the door that was worth it and that they wanted to keep? So they wanted to keep has to be impactful here. That was worth it and that they wanted to keep. How many times pre-A.J. Brown's trade did a guy get out the door in recent history?
Yeah, but recent history is A.J. Brown.
No, I know that. But that was a trade. It wasn't.
No, that was a botched situation.
I'm trying to ask you. No, I literally said the mishandling of the A.J. Brown situation as I was prefacing this. So, again, it's Jack Conklin. And that even has a lot of nuance to it because of they just paid Lawan. Jack Conklin was coming off a good year. The Browns offered him like $20 million in base salary year one. And they allowed, Jack Conklin to walk because they didn't want to pay both tackles. But my whole point of why I'm asking this is because the Titans have paid big dollars to a lot of different guys that they drafted on the free agent market, late round picks, first round picks, quarterback, running back, defensive backs, Bud Dupree, Malcolm Butler, Taylor Lewan, Jarrell Casey. Like, these are all guys that the Titans have paid big money contracts to under Amy Adams Strunk and John Robinson. And so
you're always good. Like, let's not praise them. It's football. You have to play big contracts. Everybody does. Everybody in the league has paid big contracts to people. So let's not sit there and just sit there and celebrate that. That is something that happens across the league.
I'm saying what actually has happened under the 7-year reign of Amy Adams Strunk running the franchise and John Robinson being her GM. All these things that have happened are factual. That's happened. They've paid,
but they're just not praised for big contracts. It's the right big contract. That's what you get praised for.
Okay.
Everybody in the league has to sign players.
I'm answering the question of I'm explaining why I think it's a small deal. Did I say no deal or did I say small deal?
Yeah, I disagree with you either if you said either of those, so it doesn't matter.
But it's a small deal because I'm going off the Titans' precedent. And the precedent is way more often than not, they keep the players that they think are worth it. The two guys that walked away that were worth the money were Jack Conklin and A.J. Brown. Outside of that, they haven't allowed that to happen. Like, they told us that they didn't think Jonnu Smith was worth the money. Corey Davis wasn't worth the money. Rashaan Evans wasn't worth any money. Jayon Brown wasn't worth the money. They told us Amani Hooker was. They told us Jarrell Casey was, and then they moved on from him. They signed Malcolm Butler to $60 million contract. Like, they did all these moves. They told us Logan Ryan wasn't worth the money he was asking after they paid him $30 million and got that. So their precedent is that they do a good job of this. Then there's Jack Conklin, and then there's A.J. Brown. And so the Jack Conklin situation in that moment was the correct move by the Titans to not pay Jack Conklin what he was going to get from the Cleveland Browns. That was the correct business move. But the A.J. Brown situation was not the correct business
Austin,
move.
I understand what you're saying. You're focusing on the wrong thing. You need to be focusing on the Titans saying to a premier player that should be the centerpiece of your entire franchise that they don't know how to pay you.
Okay.
That's what you should be focusing on. It's not all the other history of the Titans. All that stuff already happened.
Okay.
The
So
fact
go through
is,
your answer.
The fact is that this is a major deal because, and all we can do is take Jeffery Simmons at his word on his quote, right? But the fact that a franchise tells a piece that is so impactful to their franchise, everybody and their mother in this chat understands how big of a piece Jeffery Simmons is. He is the glue guy. He is the center point of the defense. It's why this defense is so good. It is. Without Jeffery Simmons, I don't think that they're as good because he's a top 2 pass rusher. And to tell that guy, and I'm going to go into a second part of the Titans benefiting, but
Okay.
You never tell somebody we don't know how to find the money. You know, because
I agree with that. Yeah.
And that's why I say this is a major deal. Because if I'm Jeffery Simmons, I look back at the Titans and I say, well, you better find the mother effing money. You don't tell, you're $1 billion business and you're going to sit here and saying, yeah, it is that's why it's a big deal. I'm not talking about the history of the franchise. And who knows, they may still look, this may be so bad PR that they actually sack up, find the money, and pay him, right? Because of their mistake. And now A.J. Brown single-handedly has more wide receiving yards than their wide receivers. Maybe that's it, right? So maybe they're learning, but this is a huge deal because it's the way you do business, Austin. Business ethics.
All right.
Here's the other thing. The Titans have benefited off of 2 players that are nice guys. They are dominant forces in this league, but they're nice guys. A.J. Brown is not a nice guy. A.J. Brown is a wide receiver diva that tweets and deletes and wanted his money, but he was worth it. He was absolutely worth it. Premier game records. The Titans have benefited off of Derrick Henry being an all-team guy, taking a team-friendly contract when he's the best running back in the damn league. They benefited off of Jeffery Simmons being a nice guy and not making more of a hoopla this past offseason and holding out for a bigger contract because Jeffery Simmons could have held their feet to the effing fire, but he didn't because he's a nice guy. You know how he's a nice guy and he's a team player? And these are good. This is a good thing, but you can't tell the players like this that say, I love where I'm at. I love the organization. Most of all, I love my teammates. Team guy. T-E-A-M guy. That's what they've benefited off of. So this is a major deal because of the words that they have said, and this was the report. That's what we're reacting off of. This is a major deal because of recent history, like very recent history, off-season history, A.J. Brown to now. That's why it's a big deal.
So, again, I think it's absolutely a deal. The reason why I think it's a small deal is because this is what happened this summer, right? This was this offseason where they had Jeffery Simmons going into year 4 with the 5th year of control. That's what, if this happened next summer and the Titans are saying, yeah, we don't know where it's going to come from. Now that is a major massive.
You have more time to figure it out. Why would you say that you don't know where it's going to come from when you have a lot more time in the future to figure out with the cap going up each year, all of these things? So there was no reason to say that.
No, I look, again, I don't agree. I want this to be out there. I do not agree with the Titans telling Jeffery Simmons and his team, his representation, whoever it was, pre an agent, now an agent. I don't agree with the fact the Titans saying to anybody that, yeah, we don't know where it's going to come from. I think that's a bad way to go about it. And I agree with Scott, bad optics overall. But again, there's still time for this. And thank you, David, because I'm about to get something too, because David says it's not about the cap. And I want to see, there was a comment, MHVACR says, piss poor cap management. This is not about the salary cap. I'm going to go into what I think this has to do with more. But first, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you got to know who to go to, know who to trust to get you back on the road to recovery. And the folks at the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin can do everything for you. They've got over a dozen doctors who specialize in any type of injury. So when I say region's destination, you're not going to find anything better than the Bone and Joint Institute if you're in Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Northern Alabama. If you've got something going on and you want to get back to health, boneandjointtn.org.
I'm about to take a commenter to the woodshed, but before that happens, I am going to tell you guys about BetMGM. Download BetMGM. I had a 4-team parlay because of the Lakers 3-point tie for Matt Ryan. I'm not talking about Matty Ice in the corner. That hit me a 4-team parlay, which was great. I needed that win, and you can need a win by downloading the BetMGM app. You get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 for new users.
All right, so Zach, you said you're going to take a commenter to the woodshed. I'm going to get into why this is not a salary cap situation, but I guess I'll go ahead and let you go first before I kind of dive deeper into that.
All right, I got to scroll back up because as I did that read, tons more comments came in, but it was Brian with an Y, so I got to scroll back up and find him. Brian Scruggs. That's exactly who it was. Man, there's a lot of comments. Thank you. Here we go. All right, Brian, let's read your comment. Zach would be lost without being able to fall back on AJ during each and every argument. Barely cracked 1,000 yards. Always hurt. Has had 3 good games this year. Brian, tell me one wide receiver that the Titans have that have had 2 good games this year. I'll wait. I will sit back and wait. So this is not a fallback. This is a detrimental decision to a franchise that they made. And the Titans are still 5-2. Brian, God knows what would happen if the Titans were like 2-3 or some like bad record, right? You have no idea. Or 2-5, who knows? But the fact of the matter is that the Titans, to get to where they want to go, they're looking for a premier wide receiver. They had one. It was a bad decision. I bet you John Robinson, I don't know. I don't even want to say that because John Robinson has not fully talked about exactly what happened, fully open on this. But you're sitting there and it's not a fallback. We criticize, but we also praise based on decisions that football teams make. That's just what it is. The Miami Dolphins are getting praised right now. If all of their draft picks that they traded away didn't work out and it was a brutal decision, we would criticize them. The Jags, we're criticizing them because their moves aren't working, right? So you are what you are. So Brian, clam it up until you can tell me a Titans wide receiver or a player besides Derrick Henry that has had 2 good games this year. That's my 2 cents.
All right, so MHVACR said this is the Titans suck at the cap, and he says, don't be short-sighted, Austin. Then he says they don't manage the cap good. Well, they manage the cap better than you manage grammar because they don't manage the cap well would be that. But MACVR. So here's the situation. It's not about the salary cap. It's about cash. Cash, not cap. So the Titans and Vin Marino and John Robinson are actually pretty good at managing the salary cap. But it's about the cash the owner has. And the Titans have handed out a ton of cash over the last several years. And Amy Adams-Strunk has also put a lot of cash into that facility. If you've been over to St. Thomas Sports Park anytime recently and you see that big-ass white building that they just built last summer, yeah, there's a lot of cash that went into that. If you tour the locker room, they'll put a lot of cash back into that. Also, something that makes me think about the timeline of this is that when this happened in the summer, that maybe the Titans told Jeffery Simmons they don't know where the money's going to come from for this contract. That was happening in the summer. What also was happening this summer? The city of Nashville, the Titans, and the National Sports Council were gathering up a bid for a new stadium for the World Cup. And so that new stadium might happen pretty quickly. And so what I said when we talked about this summer, at some point, the Titans football will be cash struck or cash strung by the new stadium. If Amy Adams Strunk and her family are putting in $700 million into the stadium, at some point that will hurt the football's cash flow because they have to pay. And Dom's got it right in the chat too. Whenever you sign a contract and a player gets a signing bonus, while that signing bonus is spread out, prorated throughout the entirety of the contract on the salary cap, all of that money has to be in the player's bank account within 21 days of them inking that contract. So this is not about the salary cap. This is about cash. And so Andre says, so the Titans are broke all the way around. They're not broke. They're just not as rich as a lot of the other owners. I believe when we counted up this summer, Amy Adams Strunk is right there. Her family is right there in the middle when it comes to wealthy owners in the NFL. Stan Kroenke is nearly 8 times wealthier than Amy Adams Strunk, which is why he can go and pay Matt Stafford $60 million in his pocket, but it only counts $11 million on the cap. That's why he can do things like that. And we've talked about that a lot over the summer. It's a cash problem. It's not a salary cap issue.
But from Jeffery Simmons' standpoint, that's the Titans' laundry. And that's not his concern, right?
I'm not saying that's his concern.
No, but you're sitting there, you're sitting in the Titans in this sense, are telling you all the dirty laundry. I don't care. Like, I deserve this. Everybody else is getting paid, right? Like, just because you build a new stadium and this is just the timing of it, that makes no difference to Jeffery Simmons.
Did I say it did? No, I was just explaining. I was just explaining the situation. Was I wrong?
But that's what I'm saying is
Zach,
that's not how you do business.
Zach, was I wrong? Was I wrong in what I said?
No, you're
right.
incorrect.
So
but why it doesn't matter.
No, you're acting like I said an opinion that you disagree with. I didn't say anything. I just said what was happening.
No, I'm talking about in Jeffery Simmons' case.
Yeah,
Jeffery Simmons' words were that the Titans told him, "We don't know where it's going to come from." Right? That's all we don't know anything else. We don't know what else was said. We have no idea, right? We don't know if they explained to Jeffery Simmons that was the reason. That's an assumption. Now, it's probably an educated assumption by you on where the money is going or what the
pieces together
timeline
from the
is.
Timeline. Look, again, I feel like you're putting something on me that I didn't say.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about Jeffery Simmons. The reason why this is a big deal is because it's business between the Titans and a player that has done everything right. And in today's age, those players get paid by other teams, right? And in this case, the optics, which are important, of what the quote was and the fact that they didn't even give him an offer, right? That was another part of this thing. They never put an offer on the table. Now, did Aaron Donald screw some of this up for the Titans? Yes, he did. But you could argue, and this is what you argued this offseason, that Christian Kirk screwed everything up, right? So it doesn't matter. The fact is that you cannot let guys go away that you know are going to help your football team make more money, right? Because if the Titans win one of 2 playoff games in the last 2 years, that's a ton of cash.
Yes.
We have no idea. I can't even put a number on it. And I would love to know. This is a great, and I don't love Darren Ravel, but this is a great Darren Ravel tweet that I would love to read, is how much singular money do you get from hosting an AFC championship game?
I mean, all told, right? Just gate, just merchandise.
It's
just
all found money. And they were 3 points and 3 picks away from that.
Especially, Zach, because you know how much the players get in playoff games?
Diddly poo.
25 grand a player, which is like a tenth of a game.
Where you make your money. That's why the Bills, they've been to playoff games. They've hosted playoff. That's why they're building a new stadium, because they've racked up cash. The Titans, now they've had 2 home playoff games the last 2 years, right? That's probably why this is the decision for the stadium and things are aligning. But God knows how much more money they would have done if they would have won. Well, to win, you have to have good players. And it goes back to Woodshed Brian in the comments sitting here talking about A.J. Brown being not that good. That's your missing piece. That's what the Bills are doing at the trade deadline to get over the hump. That's what the Dolphins are attempting to host a playoff game. Well, they won't host one because of the Bills, right? But the trades and the players that you have to go for it justify. So, Austin, you don't have to tell players we don't know where it's going to come from. And so I think I look at that line as the biggest deal. You can't tell players, especially of the caliber of Jeffery Simmons, that line.
Agree. And again, like it clearly wasn't the end of the world. The Titans did not give Jeffery Simmons a contract extension this past offseason because he's playing this year at $2 million in the fourth year of his rookie deal, and he's got 5.5 sacks and looks like a freaking beast out there.
But let me ask this question real quick.
Okay.
Out of 10 players at that position, and I go back to nice guy.
Yeah.
I don't think most do this. I don't think most players play under a $2 million contract.
I would agree. And Jeffery Simmons said that. Like, that's why I added this quote at the bottom, like what I'm making this year, some guys who just got in here are making. He says, when you're talking about the D line, you have to think about the number one guy in the league, Aaron Donald. I'm making $2 million. He's making 30. I asked myself, do I want to go risk that? Well, the answer for this year was, yeah, he did. Now, when you look at the average annual value for Aaron Donald, who's number one, he's making 31. Then DeForest Buckner jumps down to 21. Then Chris Jones at 20. Jonathan Allen at 18. And Vita Vea, your guy, at 17.7. So that's the top 5 defensive linemen there for Jeff Simmons. So
they're going to have to pay him 25 minimum.
Oh, yeah. I thought they should have got in. That's why I thought they should have done it in July.
Oh, yeah. But they didn't have the money. But they couldn't find where the money is, apparently.
Right. But again, it wasn't the end of the world. It was just going to cost them a little bit more later on.
But now, if Jeffery Simmons has the year that he's starting to have, that thing is not going to be at 25, big dogs.
It's going to be closer to 30. It won't be at 30, but it'll be closer to 30.
And so now you didn't pay A.J. Brown 25, in which he asked. You don't have a wide receiver that can do anything. And now you're going to possibly have to go try to find some money to pay Jeffery Simmons close to 30.
But they're hoping other money comes off the books for them to be able to pay that, right? It's the whole thing of like, and again, this is not, it's everybody's budget. Everybody in life, like rich people, can do more things to their financial benefit because they have money. Like it takes money to make more money. Well, the Titans are not the richest owners or richest franchise in the league. So they have to do things on a budget more often. And sometimes you don't get the benefits. Like if you can't afford to pay it all up front, a lot of times if you can pay it all up front, you get a discount, right? But man, the Titans just couldn't afford to have that coming out of their checking account to pay it all up front. So they did the monthly payments. They're going to pay it longer in the long run, but that's what they had to do because of their budget. That's kind of what everybody's been in a situation at some point in their life where they've been in that situation like that. So it's just, it is what it is. Like that's where the Titans are at with their financial situation, but it was a bad optics move for the Titans to tell it to Jeffery Simmons. And still, how pissed are the Titans today that Jeffery Simmons said that to a reporter on The Athletic? If I'm the Titans, I am furious at that, because the Titans drafted Jeffery Simmons when they got a lot of heat that they had to answer up to when they drafted Jeffery Simmons. They took a chance on him as a human being. Remember that press conference we went to in April of 2019 where Amy Adams Strunk was there sitting next to Jeffery Simmons saying, I believe in this guy. I believe in this man. And that is something that I thought about, that Jeffery Simmons said this after they did that for you. Like, again, business is business.
It's a what have you done for me lately?
No,
that's how America works. Nobody gives a damn
saying.
about 4 or 5 years ago. Nobody cares.
I'm just
it's
saying.
about what he's done in the league. He's made his own money. You know, Joe Mixon's not saying all that stuff. Joe Mixon is a premier running back, right? Nobody's talking about Joe Mixon's past. People forget if you play well. It's a sad, sad world, but that's the case. Your ass won't get canceled if you win football games. It's just the case. It's where we live. Now, you'll get canceled for a lot of other things. But you hope at times doing something good for a person can give you some equity down the road. And he has.
Yes.
He gave him the benefit of the doubt and is playing under a $2 million contract in which 9 out of 10 players wouldn't do.
Right.
9 out of 10 players, I truly believe that, would not play at the skill set and the impact of Jeffery Simmons. They would not play under a $2 million contract for their team and for their franchise. So tough, bud. When you drafted me, it doesn't matter.
Again, no, I agree. I think Jeffery Simmons did the Titans a massive solid.
Nobody does that.
By not holding out a lick outside of the mini camp stuff that they didn't even call that a hold.
And everybody in the chat, everybody watches this show, everybody that watches the Titans, and not everybody in the NFL knew how badass Jeffery Simmons was.
Right.
But he was a complete and utter game wrecker. Now, if he played for the New York Giants or the Packers or something, you'd all know who Jeffery Simmons is. But small market takes a little bit longer to spread. It's spread. And people know now.
That was the entire article that Dan Pompei wrote. Now, the headline of Dan Pompei's article is why the Titans' Jeffery Simmons may be the best defensive tackle this side of Aaron Donald. Like, that's exactly what he was trying to get out there.
And I endorse that title.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, man, the Titans are sitting there going like, Jeff, why'd you tell him that? And I'm curious.
Jeff's sitting there saying, why didn't you pay me?
But again, they went over that. And you would think that there were conversations where they said, all right, you're going to play this season under this number. We understand the situation. Let's talk after we go win a lot of football games this upcoming season.
And I would tell the Titans no.
But again, why Jeffery Simmons has said things all offseason like this to the Titans media, but goes and tells Dan Pompei this is Jeffery Simmons to the Titans media for the last 8 months.
Yeah.
Is it discouraging to you that they said we may not be able to pay you what you're worth? We don't know if where the money's going to come from?
Yep, Patrick Mahomes. I'm hopeful I can get to him this weekend. My focus is that. I'm not worried about a contract right now. I mean, I'm focused on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
So he says all that. That's all that he's told people that have asked him dozens of times from when he showed up this summer to yesterday. But he goes and tells Dan Pompei all of that dirty laundry on the Titans.
Well,
that's what just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I know. I that's why I started the whole thing is what did Dan Pompei do to Jeffery Simmons to get him to open up?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Like, what did they take a trip to Miami? They go to the Bahamas. They go to a nice dinner. Like, you don't get that. We've talked to Jeffery Simmons. Like, you don't get that. I will say this last thing on Jeffery Simmons. Well, two things. Bradley Chubb's contract doesn't help things, and contracts, moving forward are not going to help the Titans' cause in trying to find the money because you need to go find more money. You need to go find the safe in DuckTales with all those coins because that's the amount of money you're going to have to pay Jeff Simmons this offseason. And then my next thing, I will remember when Jeffery Simmons got drafted and we were at his initial press conference. This is before COVID, this is everything, where you can actually shake somebody's hand. I remember shaking Jeffery Simmons' hand, and I'm 6'2". We've measured our hands, right? I think I have the same size hand as Ryan Tannehill. His hand engulfed my hand.
Mm-hmm.
I looked like a soda can, and his hand looked like Andre the Giant. And I will never forget that. So I always think when I watch Jeffery Simmons play, imagine that hand right here trying to push me out of the way. I am baffled by that. And that's why he's so damn good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It definitely will be. A to Z Sports here live on this Thursday. We still have a Ryan Tannehill conversation to get to. We'll touch on this. Ryan Tannehill does update his ankle injury status for Sunday night. But first, Zach, tell everybody about Farm Bureau Health Plans.
FBHP.com. Look, Jeffery Simmons needs a health plan this year. He's only making $2 million. I'm sure he has a health plan. And I've got a health plan. I'm really glad that my health plan is Farm Bureau Health Plans. 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. And what they say is better rates, better coverage, better service. They have all three of those, and I'm reaping the benefit. My better rate, I'm saving 20% on my health plan. I went to go get my eyes checked out. Unfortunately, I've got a slight astigmatism that I need to get corrected. I got some contacts I'm trying out. Oh, wait, the contacts, I get a contact allowance. There you go. That contact allowance is come and afforded to me because I went to fbhp.com/A to Z. I talked to a representative. I took a health assessment. I got a better plan. You need to do the same thing. That's Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee.
Also, download the BetMGM app. Use our code ATOZ Sports. You get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 on pro football. So jump on board the BetMGM train with Zach and I. Again, that's code ATOZ Sports. When you download the app, make your first deposit. Using that code, you get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 on pro football. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, since the only new customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligible requirements. Warriors issued knowledgeable free bets with credit. For bets expiring 7 days. For problem game sport, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. Zach, Ryan Tannehill updating his contract or his injury status, with the ankle injury. Let's hear from the Titans starting quarterback yesterday.
That's what we're doing today.
So you'll be able to participate in the walkthrough today?
Yes.
How surprised were you the week played out like it did and you weren't able to go Sunday?
Disappointed. I think obviously wanted to try to be out there as I still do. So we'll have to deal. We dealt with what last week was, and unfortunately wasn't able to go. And trying to get myself ready to go this week.
How would you think the week helped you be able to stay off of it, not put extra stress on it?
I mean, it definitely helps it heal, right? And it's just kind of where I was at. Just needed the time, and wasn't able to do my job or protect myself, so wasn't able to go.
The sickness, Ryan, did the sickness factor more than the ankle? The same, or was it a combination of the both?
No, it was the ankle. Yeah, sickness sucked, but would have been able to get through that one.
So that's interesting there, right? Because the
illness
illness
very
popped up.
interesting.
Yeah, the illness popped up late in the week, and I thought the illness might have been what kind of pushed him over the edge of not being able to go, but no, the ankle. So what's your reaction there?
Well, I was surprised that I thought it was the sickness. I mean, I'm glad he clarified that because last week, I was at 90% that I felt like he was going to play because he didn't have a boot. He was walking. He was, limited, all that. And then all of a sudden he had the sickness. And I was like, okay, well, that may have the reason why he didn't take the trip. But him saying it was the ankle didn't get better as quickly as it needed to get better, right? And so I thought that was eye-opening to me. And that is honestly more concerning, right? Because that means that there's a little bit more ligament damage, and ligament damage is just a term, right? You sprain ankle is ligament damage than originally thought. And if it kept you out of a game so here's the other philosophy is the Titans felt like they could beat the Texans without Ryan Tannehill, and they really needed him more to be 100% versus the Kansas City Chiefs in prime time because it's an AFC matchup that could decide, and this is the Titans thinking. They've already lost the tiebreak to the Bills, right? So you're not going to get that back. You got drummed. But the number 2 seed, which is beneficial, right? Because if the Bills get upset in the divisional round and the Titans win and they're the number 2 seed, all of a sudden they're hosting an AFC championship game. This isn't in a wild world, but that's my philosophy. We need Ryan Tannehill to win this AFC matchup more so than Derrick Henry running train literally over the Texans. We feel like we can do that with Malik Willis.
Yeah, for sure. The main thing that I heard from Tannehill was something that I was curious about from last week, because last week he didn't answer anything. He talked about, Terry asked him about his daughter's wedding, if he could dance there. Well, the biggest thing that I heard outside of the illness thing from yesterday was that he couldn't protect himself, that he wasn't mobile enough to protect himself if he would have played last weekend. And I think I go back to the Carson Wentz in Nashville week 3 or 4 from last year when he had the 2 sprained ankles. And I don't think Carson Wentz was really able to protect himself. I thought that was a big risk for the Colts to play a guy like that who had both sprained ankles and couldn't move. So I think overall, hindsight, the Titans, got a bunch of rushing yards, 300 plus against the Texans. So it was the right decision to rest him. But, we'll see what happens. And they've done walkthrough practices. So they'll keep doing that as the season gets deeper, especially when your starting quarterback can't do much.
And I have enjoyed this week the mic'd up version of Derrick Henry. I don't know if you've seen that, and the mic'd up version of Mike Vrabel against the Texans, and how much this team truly believes that Derrick Henry is and should be and continuously can be the focal point to get them to where they need to go. When they're in a tough spot, give it to Derrick Henry. And it works against the Texans. It's always going to work. It always has worked against the Texans, and it continues. But I think the hard part in football is you don't always get the benefit of games going that way, right?
You don't always play the Texans.
Right. And so
just twice.
I think it was probably a combination of Texans and ankle based on the decision of last week. But now all of that is thrown out the window. You have to have Ryan Tannehill to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Malik Willis showed us that he is very far behind.
No, I agree. All right, A to Z Sports. Let's get on to the Magic Bucket on this Thursday. We wrap up every Thursday with the Magic Bucket. But first, I got to tell all you guys about Hughes and Coleman, injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans. That's what Hughes and Coleman are. If you are injured in a car wreck, call Hughes and Coleman for a free case consultation. Their number, it's easy, 800-800-4600. And they've got the resources, they got the muscle and all the backing to go help you get all the money you deserve from that other insurance company. So again, if you've been injured in a car wreck, call Hughes and Coleman, 800-800-4600 for a free case consultation. They've recovered over $1 billion for their clients across the state of Tennessee and in Kentucky for the last 30 years. They will do the absolute same from you. Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, principal office in Nashville, Tennessee.
A to Z Sports were powered by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app today. They've got you hooked up. $1,000 risk-free bet for new users. In the promo code tab, type in ATOZSPORTS, all one word. That's A to Z Sports. Your risk-free bet for new users. You can enjoy the action, live action at BetMGM. Download the app today.
All right, Magic Bucket Thursday. Zach, you've got the bucket, and it is your sticker week. So we'll find out what we have to do today.
All right, let's see what we got here. Ooh, redemption. Redemption sticker.
For what? What did I do? You're making me think.
Oh, no, this is redeeming myself. This is not for you. This is me. This is a me thing. Years ago, and the real OGs know. When you know, you know. Years ago, I made a terrible mistake by defaming a unbelievable restaurant when I meant to say Blue Coast burrito instead of Baja burrito. So years later, I've got to continuously redeem myself for Baja burrito being the best Tex-Mex fast casual restaurant in this city.
It's a very specific ranking.
And they are the best. They are number one.
Baja in Tex-Mex burrito. Fast casual in Nashville.
And I'm putting this bad boy, it's a big sticker. I'm putting this bad boy right on the bucket.
I think we need a new bucket though.
Well, that's what makes, it's like, that was a very bad job of putting that sticker on. Hold on.
Oh, all right. You have to, start by
here,
one
I'll
corner.
I'll cover AJ Brown.
There you go. It's only right that you cover up AJ Brown with your sticker.
Right?
If I did,
because God knows the Titans did. All right. I picked for myself because it's my sticker week.
Oh, how about this? Tiffany says Baja is owned by the father and the best. The son owns Blue Coast Burrito.
If that's the case, that would be hilarious. There's no way. Blue Coast Burrito is a chain, so
maybe the local one. I don't know. Well, it's for you.
Ooh, this is brutal. The puller, which is me, has to eat one of their dog treats. So I actually,
Oh,
I have the dog treat, and I have
depends on what
always
you have in stock.
been curious. I'm glad that there's one that are disgusting. They're supposed to help Tux's breath, which is Tux got bad breath, but he doesn't love them because it helps his breath, right? There's a reason for that. It's like
Yeah, kids don't like brushing their teeth. Yeah.
exactly. But he does have some blueberry treats that he does love, and so I will try those. So I'm going to pull for you, and then
Are you going to go do that right now?
I'm going to pull for you, then I'm going to go get the treats.
Okay.
On the next live show, you must wear a top hat and monocle. Can be cheap / fake, obviously. Hey, you haven't done that. I haven't done that.
No, nobody's done this. This is going to have to be on Monday. I don't think Amazon will be able to get here before tomorrow morning show.
But put it in your calendar.
I'm just going to go ahead and, I'm going to
put it in your calendar. That's how we've been a lot better about that since the calendar. We've paid off our, so give me 2 seconds.
Okay. All right. The blueberry treat. I'm curious to see if this blueberry treat has other ingredients besides the just the blueberries. All right. You got to let Zach plug in his earpiece back in.
Dog treats. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's going to be brutal.
And Jerome says, go to a party costume store, Austin. I don't have time, Jerome, today to go make that errand. I've already got a couple errands that have got me all stacked up today. All right, Zach, you want to show what are the ingredients in this?
I got 2. So here is the I'm glad that I'm not going to have to eat this. The brushless toothpaste, and you kind of have a Boston Terrier that look like Tux. These things are nasty. They smell, they stink, but they improve your dog's breath. So
ironic that the stinky treats help the breath,
right?
Yeah,
but I'm going with the Nutro. This is Tux's favorite treat.
Is he gonna be
made
mad
with
at you?
real mixed berries.
Is he gonna be mad at you that you're stealing some of this?
Non-GMO. No, he doesn't care. He's probably upstairs sleeping. And they're made with real blueberries. So
what else is in them?
A bunch of stuff. I don't know.
I mean, but is there like other
chicken meal, cane molasses,
yeah.
sunflower oil, dried cranberries? They don't actually oatmeal. They look like, let's see. Ugh. Yeah, blood. Ugh.
You have to swallow it. You can't just spit it out.
That's what
you have to eat.
I'm done. I ate it. Ugh. It's gross but tasteless. Hey, Tux. Here, boy. He's upstairs sleeping.
You just shake the bag, see what happens. Oh,
he's under the covers somewhere, probably in my bed. That's where he likes to lay.
Oh,
I don't recommend that.
Well, I'm gonna have to pull it at some point. Some point. All right. Well, I'll buy my top hat and monocle, and hopefully, we'll see how quickly it'll be in here tomorrow
after a big Sunday night game.
Yeah, big Sunday night game. I'm gonna wake up tired and just with a monocle. All right, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. Don't forget, subscribe, like the show before you go. So if you're watching on YouTube right now, which a lot of you guys are watching on YouTube, so you should like the show before you go. If you're on your phone, you just have to exit out of the live chat. Then you can like the show, and then you click on the live chat, and it pops back up. But like the show before you go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Sam Phelan will be in the locker room and at Titans practice again today, and we'll have all that content posted on YouTube as well. We're getting close to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, so help us out and get there. Share the show, subscribe, like, all of that, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow on a Friday morning. Buck Rising live tonight, 8 p.m. Central for prime time. See you soon. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.